Magic of doing it live, doing it naturally. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Okay, let me silence you on the other one.
Okay. What's the other one?
Man, meeting with the doctor himself.
Oh,
It's a
I'm very
privilege.
honored to have this time for satsang and spend spiritual time together.
Oh, no, I can't hear you. Wait. Something.
Well, let me
Hello?
introduce myself for the audience that comes across
Yes,
this, your audience
please, yes,
later.
please.
My name is Dr. Rob. I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years, and now I'm a non dual Buddhist, absurdist, avant garde artist, and spiritual mentor and coach.
Well, I suppose I am interviewing or what? What's going
Well,
on
we're here.
now?
We're here in being. We're here in being, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, but I just try to figure out right now, is it going to go live on both of the channels, right?
It should be live on my channel too.
Nice, cool. Okay. Anyways, man, I'm so happy that I get the chance to hop on this call. It's a privilege to just ask you to get on a call, and voila, we have it. We can kumbaya with each other right now. And yeah, I would like also the people who perhaps value my teachings be able to find you, because I think not so many people are like you, my friend. And I would like people to learn the ways of you.
Well, it's difficult. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd say there's something wrong here. There's something wrong with this guy. But, I've got to deal with this guy all the time, so I better be kind.
Yeah, and you are kind,
Thank you.
assuming you are this guy.
Which I'm not.
No, therefore, what is kindness? We don't know.
Well, I like to work with kindness as generosity, but I think in the modern framework of what's going on in being humans and being online, there's it's kind of a disaster level psychic warfare situation. I was talking with some people. I said, look, biologically, if you're hearing someone's voice, you're in the room with that person. It's a fight or flight situation. You're experiencing that person, or you're experiencing a grand psychic phenomena. You know what I mean? So I think people are missing out a little bit on the intimacy and the consistency of connection that goes along with, that has to go along with hearing other people's voices, seeing their faces, seeing their embodiment. And we're kind of very discombobulated from that. And then it's like every action that someone takes, we're either crucifying them or becoming a follower. It's just a very weird situation.
Man, you had to blow me away like that. Yeah, it was beautiful, right? It's just the consistency of this possibility of being together that makes it a commune. It's not necessarily what you say, it's not necessarily what you do. It's just like your being is there, and then you create more time to be together. Therefore, your beings are matching more and more, and then therefore awareness is there, and therefore again you don't need to really seek so much, and everything is just available. But then you get involved with the judgment, with the comparison, with the, did I make it, did I not make it, am I reputable, am I lovable, likable, this way, that way, how people will perceive me. All of these things are just also blocking, right? So many people feeding the people these type of contents, and then some people come across your type of content, and in the first minute they jump out, and not because they just simply think that, oh, this guy is not for me. It's just because you create that environment. And that is beautiful, that you create an environment for people to be around enough to get to know you. And this is fantastic, because I would say, personally, I would thrive for that. I want people to get repelled in the first, in the first look. And then perhaps if they get deeper a little bit, if they become more interested, therefore, then they can just come and sit with me, and then we can be in a circus all together, and it doesn't need to be serious. But then you have to find that person to be able to come and sit with you, right? Otherwise, you gotta feed them what they want. And usually that's not what you want. So it makes it this situation. Well said, man. Nice. How's it going now? You're back in Vietnam?
Yeah, I'm in Vietnam, and I'm planning to stay here for a while and settle down a bit. And so that's a big change for me. My ongoing travels. I don't know how many times I've been through that, traveling and then thinking to settle down in one place. As the monk, I would or we would stay in one place for about 3 months. That's kind of the usual way of doing it. Every year, you stay in one place for about 3 months. But I'm hoping to get established a little bit here, and that's very putting me into a mindset about. Well, it's not. I really can't say that I'm in any mindset or that I'm going through anything in particular. It's a direct experience here and now, and that's where my identity is. And this direct experience here and now is very free from story. Is very free from story, and sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's unpleasant, but it's very uncertain for sure. A lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? I don't know. I
Yeah,
can't
I get
say.
you. Yeah. But at the end, what's already happening, right?
What's happening now?
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? If we call it a goal, but at the end, we live this life to die, and perhaps the moment we die, we become for once present. There is no past, there is no future to live it, to understand this experience that we are having. But
And it's
I
tough.
suppose, come again?
Well, it's tough. I mean, just working with other people, and you do want to have a conversation, you do want to connect, you do want to reach people and help people and all that kind of stuff, but it's just you don't want to get lost in the seeking element of it. I don't want to get lost in the seeking element of it. But I do want to connect with people, and I like what you said about the consistency of the space, and what you said about then other people would like something or would be convenient for them, but that's not what's convenient for you. That's not what's natural for you, and now you're putting yourself in that position, which of course you could be in, but then that's actually taking a little bit away from the space, the love or the naturalness of the situation.
Yeah. But through my experience, I figured when I put myself in the state of now, people become more interested, in the when you are simply meditating with that level of awareness that you can stay in present, right? I'm sure you're aware of that. And then people a little bit become more interested, like, what is this guy? Like, not even what this guy is saying, like, what is this guy? Because There is something about this presence that is unfamiliar. But at the same time, this presence, it gives some sort of act to it when you want to attract people. Like at the end, we are just online to attract people. At the end, we want to perhaps share this awareness with people. And that becomes the very barrier to also distract you from your general path. You know, you're also going on this general direction in life, and you prefer that people meet you in the general direction of your life. But then sometimes you're like, ah, this guy is just really in the ditch. I gotta just go this way, perhaps to do something. And you don't know if you're helping or you're helping yourself, because you also have carry this ego outside this general direction, you know. But I would say at the end, it's the awareness. At the end, if you are you in that pure moment, then the attraction happens. And I love that about your doing, because I can simply see the presence. I can see that this guy puts hours and hours of time to be with people. Like, this is not easy. This is just insanely hard. Like, not so many people understand that going on a stream for a few hours every day. Sometimes I see your 8 hours. I don't know how many hours. This is like something that not so many people understand how tough it can be, you know. Like, but then you do it, and I'm like, damn, this guy. I'm just not gonna praise you so much here. I don't want to sound like praising, but honestly, I wouldn't want to go live with anyone out there
Except for
but
me, except for
but
Dr. Rob.
you know.
Yeah.
And maybe some other time in the future, some other person comes that I want to go live with. But so far, thank you, man. Like, for whatever you're doing, I really thank you.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, you're saying maybe me. Yeah, I will go live with you for sure. That's for sure. Rob, you don't see my text, right? My messages
No, I
and
can
stuff.
see it
Yeah.
too. I can see Emmy. I
Okay.
can see Emmy. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Nice. I just wanted to know how is this thing working. But tell me, man. Tell me about your work. Tell me a little bit more about this whole this whole thing, this whole shebang, this whole kumbaya thing, this whole. I suppose there are hours and hours that I can watch and understand. But maybe if you want to give some for my audience.
Well, I tell you, the answer is beginning to elude me more and more of what this is and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do, and just kind of giving in and giving up and giving away. Uh, no, there's no sense in myself to want to aggrandize it into something special or meaningful. But it does. It's a shift, a changing moment by moment, and it's very, very not understood. Even I don't understand it. But there seems to be, like, now, if I had to look at now, the experience now, there seems to be a very strong irrelevance of anything, any thoughts or words or phrases about this. But that's not necessarily blissful or wonderful. It's kind of uncertain and open-ended, or a dead end. Feels kind of like a dead end of openness. Um, there's not really anything special about it. I just got back from a month long trip with my students, some of my students, or maybe some cases former students after they spent time with me. I don't know, not fully the case, but uh, traveling in Australia and spending time together. And now I'm just sitting here and looking at this apartment and looking at getting established here and living here for a while. And that's very unknown to me. That's very unusual for me to have an apartment and to live somewhere for for extended period like that, maybe a year. And I'm just looking at ways to make that happen, and then I can experience all the more that there's something to protect or something to hold on to, something to sustain, something that's physical or graspable or holdable. It just creates this dynamic of, you know, well, that uncertainty about it, but that wanting for it not to be uncertain, that wanting to keep it or maintain it or for things to go the right way. And there can be, I've felt underlying anxiety or sensitivity. And of course, when people hear this, there's a confusing point where it's like we go around and we appropriate other people's experience. So this is my experience, and even if I say what that experience is, it's not your experience. So you can't really say anything about it. You can't say, "Oh, that's you're going through that, so now let me give you some advice." You know what I mean? So in the sharing or in the giving of that, it's more like an offering rather than a brain transplant. And I think people can kind of be very confused about that, like, "Oh, well, I guess I can help you out, if you really wanted to." Because the base of this experience, I would say, if I had to represent myself for the base of this experience that that someone would help with or work with, is a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of absence of thought. So that's one of the things that I emphasize is a questioning. What is this absence of thought? How do you put that into a box? How do you put space into a box? Well, whatever box you get, it's already full of space. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a box. So, every thought being surrounded by space. And I think I'm kind of hopefully there's some sense of moving farther and farther away from this mentality of like trying to actually teach people or like trying to present something that, like, okay, here I have something to give you, I have some guidance to give you about this or that. And just going into more of this space of being and sharing that or not sharing that, but it's already being shared completely, totally, whether it has anything to do with this body or mind or not. That sharing is there, that sharing or that openness is already there. And there's also, like, in that there's a practical need for people to make requests or for people to reach out or for people to kind of ask me to help them or to do something in particular, because if I was just doing for myself, well, then maybe I wouldn't do anything. And I can see in all of this and all these sounds and all these expressings, there's an irrelevance in there. There's an emptiness in there. Maybe it's not in there, but it's very palpable. There's a sense of this is not something that anybody wants. This is not something that can be monetized. And if it's anything, it's just a burden that you'd want to get rid of. Whatever it is that I've come up with or I happen to be carrying with me or I happen to be sharing, just something to, if it falls into your hand, let it go like shit. But I feel fine enough. I don't feel like I need any psychiatric medication. I feel, take it day by day and step by step. I'm more worried about other people and the problems that they're going to cause to me, and I'm less worried about the problems that I'm going to cause to myself because I'm familiar with those. I know the problems that I cause to myself. So I'm not too worried about those, but it's always better to relax that and lessen that.
But isn't that the problem? Us generally being fine with the problems that we have. That's just at least what I'm dealing with, you know, that you know very well the problems. And then you also, at the same time, you know very well that everything's fine, you know. It's just like this paradox of, okay, I got to deal with something in this realm. And then on the other realm, it's just like, yeah, you don't need to, you know. If you do, if you don't, it doesn't matter. And then perhaps perhaps we gotta also do something about the problems. Perhaps this whole monetization is some sort of barrier, right? To let this teaching out, because sometimes also you gotta allow people to buy things to appreciate it. Because
That's what
I
some
don't.
that's what people have said, and I just see myself and I think of myself and I say, Who would be wrong? Who would be broken enough? And if am I broken enough to try and sell what I've got here? Not to put any bitterness on anybody's tongue, but uh, I don't know. There's a lot of not knowing. There's a lot of openness, and there's a lot of not knowing.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think that I'm having this is almost like a second childhood for me, kind of entering into a second childhood, I would say, and experimenting with that. And there's a profoundness in the immediacy of this, not just the immediacy itself, but like whatever context one wants to put on to this situation to sell it or to market it or to reach more people or whatever. It's so secondary to the anything that can come up in this immediacy. So everything that can come up in this immediacy now is like a nuclear bomb going off for the self or the ego or the story. I can kind of resonate it with that in some sense. And if I were to practice more deeply with that, then that would probably be, just meditating more or whatever. But I'm not going to be meditating more later. The only time or the only space for more meditation is in this immediacy.
Therefore, you meditate. Therefore, you are meditating right now. Therefore, that's your doing right now. I'm just curious. Is
I
this
gue-
your
I
meditation
guess
right
so.
now?
I guess so because there seems to be a general impossibility of being lost in thoughts.
Beautiful.
That it's not really possible to be lost in thoughts. It's just the thoughts themselves that are being identified with. And then that identity is being carried into this thought and that thought, etc. But in this, even if somebody just gave you a kiss on the cheek or you smelled somebody's fart or something, there what's there to be lost in? Where are you going to get lost? Where's there to be lost?
Yeah, no, it's all real. It's all happening.
So maybe there's some questions that I can't necessarily answer, but posing that question and that sense of questioning, that sense of doubt, that sense of wonder itself is very essential, very important to my mentality. This doubt and this reverting back to non-thinking, this reverting back to not understanding, not believing thoughts in a moment by moment way, that I wish just put me into an instantaneous state of bliss, but is more so puts me into a state of uncertainty. and a state of simplicity, I would say. It's like there's a simpleness about this raw experience, the raw sound, the raw sight, the raw colors, the raw, whatever context, you just two people, two monkeys, making noises, whatever, that just is very real to me. And there's a realness to it that is leading me now to be more open to going with the flow in a full spectrum way. And I think that one of the biggest leverage points people have for spiritual development is time, the passage of time, and the passage of time that's concerned with not getting identified in the moment by moment experience. Um, and
Beautiful.
I think it just chalks up to laziness for me. I think laziness and the same things that the great teachers talk to you about, the greed and the anger and the delusion. Because the thing is that there's not really many people to talk about these things with that can actually give a suitable answer. And one time I was talking with my teacher about it, one of my masters. And he said, "Look, buddy, I could try to explain it to you, but you're not going to be able to understand it because you need a deeper samadhi. You need a deeper absorption into meditative awareness that's not based in this, superfluousness. You need a deeper congruency of thought. You need a deeper mindfulness and detachment, a deeper relationship with the present moment action of mindfulness and detachment." So the question that I bring up to people in terms of their path and their practice is, how can you be concerned with the present action of mindfulness and detachment more, and with efficacy? And that tends to be being in relationship with people that have experience being concerned with that, and then being concerned with the lineages or the traditions. Spirituality didn't just come out of a white man's ass after he ate all the food from the brown people, right? There's a lineages and traditions that we can connect with, or there's people that have connected with those traditions that we can connect with, and then kind of relying on that and seeing how we can use that or leverage that.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny part that maybe it's too harsh to say it, but I will say it. But the spirituality these days are coming out of a white man ass. No, that's just the spirituality, and people can't look beyond that. Really, they don't see the whole. The spiritual spectrum
Yes,
is kinda in a way
yes,
way
because the whole world has been colonized. Because our social dynamic. I was just in Bali, baby. Indonesia, Bali, fucking abundancy, baby. And it's full on neocolonialism. It's totally neocolonialism where these young brown people are basically enslaved or under white tourists because of the money. And so you can see it in that kind of way, but it's a full spectrum colonialism for the ways that we relate to each other, the ways that we communicate, the ways that community spaces are held, that's not in any way based on integrating Aboriginal culture, the cultures or the traditions of Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever it might be. And even if there was some semblance of that, well, those places have already gone through colonization. They've already been taught and learned, beware the white man, because he will come and fuck everything up with his culture, with his weapons, with his greed, with that system. It's a very powerful system for holocaust, for genocide, for violence. And so now the paradigm is such that we all have to kind of be on our toes, because we're trapped in this matrix of colonialism, of genocide, of whiteness. In a lot of ways, white culture, British
yeah,
culture, whatever.
I think you're white, and that gives you all the possibilities of talking about that. And I am, let's say, brown, and I will give you the brown side of it. I would say also brown is colonizing with the spirituality, right? And this colonization became something that you see in Bali, right? Everyone is just like somehow an enlightened being. Everyone somehow wears white hemp, and everyone somehow is
Yeah.
so connected with the earth. And then the brown culture that they colonized and brought these spiritual beings here, instead of giving them the spiritual practices, they are doing them the civilization practices, right? Bali is just like top notch. Like it's clean tourism. It's the best place to go and be a spiritual for a white person because you have the money. Come here. We provide you all the best places for you to be chilling, relaxing, and not thinking about so much of a stress and anxiety in your life. You detach from Germany, let's say, is getting really messed up right now with immigration. Well, voila, just leave Germany and come here and live here for the rest of your life and enjoy your life. And I would say it's all a mishmash, right? We come from a lineage of spirituality and also we come from a lineage of civilization, right? The science and everything about this whole scientific, technologically advanced world, which I would really, I am very grateful for having technology. I am so grateful for this technology that the Western world brought to this planet. But at the same time, there is this part that there is the spirituality, and this could also bring so much good to the planet. And if you mix it right, we have the technology, we have the spirituality, voila, we have the best world. But we are like, no, that's too much, man. You gotta just be a spiritual in countries that they don't have much money and you can just afford to be a spiritual. And back in your
Yeah.
country, you can't afford being a spiritual because it doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that went too deep, man.
But I
But
like
yeah,
what you said about the somehow. That's a big thing that comes up when I meet spiritual people and, people don't have much experience. Somehow they got all this great insight, this great understanding, this great deep perspective. But they didn't work for that. They didn't train with anybody. They didn't really listen to anybody. They didn't practice seriously in any way, but somehow they've got it all figured out. And this always tends to come from a position of conditionality. They're privileged, their conditions are stable, and they're in this enlightened framework. So what I have, more of an issue with, I don't remember. I guess I was just leaving some comments on the live stream, but when how we connected. But there's a lot of people out there that they're these spiritual teachers, but you can't contact them. They're not accessible. You want to have a phone call with them, you're going to spend $150, let alone a group call. So the spiritual and the social environment is such that, as much of a spiritual bum or successful or unsuccessful I am or not, whatever, I definitely got a lot of experience with the meditation centers, the monasteries, the meditation masters, etc. If I want to find a group call or a group or a community with people that have even half or even a fourth or even a tenth of as much experience as I have, just in a practical way, where am I going to find that? Nowhere. So, this is supposed to be this age of accessibility and connection and openness and all these spiritual people. And yet, you couldn't find a real spiritual person if you put your head up your own ass and put it out your mouth to talk to spend time with, to have a sense of accessibility with. Not that I'm enlightened or whatever, or have this great power or whatever. I sure hope I am. I sure wish I was and will soon be. But where are all these people?
yeah, I think it's somehow, again, too egoistic to say there are not many, you know, too egoistic to say that spirituality is also some sort of trap, right? At the end, both sides of the spectrum is some sort of trap. And it makes it difficult for people to be able to be in the present, for people to be able to be, let's say, simply vulnerable and insecure, you know. And they don't allow it because they have never really gone through this insecurity, this resilience in life to just allow this insecurity to happen, to this vulnerability to happen. And then perhaps they realize, oh, okay, it's okay if I'm not too spiritual. It's fine if I'm like so little spiritual because this spiritual guy is so compassionate that at the end will look at me as someone that will come here, stay in this moment, and move on. But then we just always want to make it complicated, right? We want to make something out of ourselves, and that makes it difficult. Honestly, not so many people you can find that you can just go and hit them up that, yo, brother, I see you. You kind of look uh, enough, you know, enlightened to me that I want to sit and talk with you. And then this doesn't require so much of a planning, you know, because that doesn't work with the, you know, that state of consciousness. You cannot plan for it because if you plan for it, then you missed it. If you plan for it, then there is no meeting. Like I cannot tell doctor, can we have a meeting next week Sunday at this time? Because the moment I say it, we can't have it. For sure, we can't. Right? We
Yeah.
can only have it now. And this might sound cliche. This might sound kind of, in a way, I don't know, too mouthful of a word, but it is what it is. You know, at the end, you got to be available to the moment. And if you're not, you can be the greatest name on a book for me. But if you're not available to the moment, then you're not very much enlightened. And if you think someone like me will perhaps shatter your reality and you don't want to hang out with me, that's totally fine. I have no problem because my reality is already shattered and I just want to shatter yours to at least perhaps get to a point because you're not getting anywhere. And that's just the state of the world. Unfortunately, people are getting too comfortable with this nonsense, getting too comfortable with this whole
Well,
I am.
what they say, the Buddha and some of the masters, they say, look, to deepen the mind, you have to shift your relationship with sensuality. And so everything, all the momentum, all the money, all the technology that's currently being put out there and being made more and more accessible to people is to make it possible for them to sensually pleasure themselves continuously. So it's no wonder that that's going to be leading towards the ending of where this kind of conversation or these kinds of teachings or ideas have any relevance at all, let alone to communicate about them or to to take an action on them. You know, and I sometimes you see the way that people talk and the way that people communicate, and it's so infused with a lack of actual community and a superfluous social media identity that people are just totally gone. They're not there for connection. And then people who are spiritual teachers and maybe have something to offer, they're, you know, they're also just focused on the social media. You know, they're also just focused on this distance so that they can keep enjoying their life. And I think that that takes so much out of the richness of spirituality, which is all about community and connection, and being able to have conversations like this, and being able to witness or be with conversations like this taking place.
Or not take place, right? Even the silence is enough. Sometimes you just need to be silent and things works magically like. And sometimes you got to put up a show and become a circus master, become a joker. But at the end, this show is happening. At the end, I won't say the show must go on because this is very molested through years. Show must go on. And I'm afraid to use it because, in absolute truth, the show is going, the show is happening. If you're part of it or not, it's all up to you. And you want to get into that pleasure trap, yeah, it's up to you again. But at the end, I think this pleasure is really hard for people to come out of, right? This juicy dopamine, this juicy pleasure of like any type of entertainment in life and any type of um, possibility for people to entertain themselves. Sometimes it's with science, sometimes it is spirituality, right? At the end, you want that entertainment. You know, now I sit and meditate for 1 hour, then I can go and say I meditated for 1 hour. I when I like come across people that they brag about their meditation and their spirituality in a way. Honestly, I'm like, seriously, like that is just like the very contradiction to your uh, presence here, that you have to establish that you're a meditator. That's the first thing, you know. And then I'm like, okay, then we cannot talk if you're a meditator because there cannot be any talk. um, but at the end, we gotta do this, you know. We gotta talk more, we gotta sit together more. I really appreciate this time together and being together, allowing also this happens because beautiful. People want easy, accessible pleasures. The spirituality is work. Yeah, again, you know, people really don't want, I don't want more show. I want ultimate reality and the consciousness for this life. And that's just also, again, for example, here Chris wants, and that's just something that we always do in our life. We want this, we want that, we want this to happen, we want that to happen. Therefore, it never happens. Like even your most accurate judgments are never accurate, are never 100% true. But then we fall into that trap of not allowing ourselves to be, not allowing ourselves to be insecure simply, be stressed, be anxious. The moment the stress and anxiety comes, we're like afraid. We're like, oh shit, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. Well, no shit, that you gotta be stressed and anxious. Like the world that we are living in is like a stress inducing, anxiety inducing. It's totally fine to be stressed and anxious. It's totally fine to live this life, but at least observe it, at least live it. Don't block it because that's not going to help you. And that's what's happening with this modern spirituality. Everyone wants to sit 5 minutes, take a few deep breaths, become relaxed. Well, what's the relaxation going to do to you? Like that relaxation will go away in a jiff because you're part of this whole chaos anyway. But then people don't want to get deep because deep is painful. Coming out of this whole insecurity is painful. Coming out of all this masks after masks is painful. I'm sure everyone has to go through it in life. Some people take up 100 masks in their life. Some people maybe take only one mask. But that's just at the end, mask after mask. And it's painful and painful and painful. And it's just this goddamn time that you talked about. Is this time will solve everything. It's not always no future. You know, past, yes, truly gone. We live in the moment, but future is still yet to come. You know, it's there. If you allow it, it will take care of you. But you don't allow it. You're just like, I want this, I want that, and You keep wanting. I went on a rant, man.
So where are you now? What are you doing now? Where are you established now?
Yeah. So now I got myself to one of the islands, middle of Atlantic Ocean, and perhaps this is what I'm going to do. Go live, do as much as I can in a way to express my awareness, and perhaps eventually the manifest is somewhere that we can get together and meditate, regardless of this whole lower state of consciousness, this digital experience. Just get into at least same level of consciousness, be in flesh, and then let that take care of things. But again, for me, cultivating the land is the first priority. And then cultivating other people's land, maybe secondary. But I do it every day. I'm also going through this whole teaching, I've done plenty of mentorships in life, but at the end, never really charged people for it because the moment you charge people for what you're doing, you really degrade what you're doing. You really just like allow your service to be equal to at least some sort of money, which for me, my service will not equal out to even all the monies that exist on this planet. So I cannot say, okay, I give you this and I receive this and that's it. This is my giving. Personally, my giving is for free, but then the begging is for real. You got to try to find a way to beg because sorry, my phone is going off. I find, uh, I find beggars the most genuine people. But again, begging is not so easy in this modern world. At least it's not like 2000 years ago, that begging is easy. You have a bowl and go and ask for food and you go on, live your life. In this modern world, begging becomes very tricky. You can't simply go ask people for food because it's not accepted in a way and it's very burdensome because I would say people are struggling to have their own food these days. So perhaps begging for money is easier. But again, begging for money is somehow looks scammy. And I don't feel like to still go through that process of like scam people. So I guess at the end, I don't know what I'm doing. I have some programs, some courses that I did 2 years ago. I only share it with some people that they seek it. But at the end, it's a bunch of nonsense. I keep telling them don't listen to me, but they still come back. I think that's a good thing. But at the end, I just want them to meditate. I just want them to sit 1 minute every single day. Every single day, just 1 minute. That's enough. And I would just want to say it right now, use this moment to say that again, I saw it in your words that uh, about about this consistency and possibility of the time, and it's about sitting with the awareness, you know. It doesn't matter how much, how long. It's about sitting in that moment and realizing that you are part of this organic unity. You are part of this whole thing. And this whole thing is just so beyond your comprehension that you don't need to take yourself so serious. Just goddamn sit 1 minute, but do it every single day. Don't get lost into the whole nonsense of your mind. So, yeah, meditate only for 1 minute every single day. If you're a meditator, increase. But if you're not a meditator and if you want to get, you know, we always want to meditate, but we don't want to meditate now. We want to meditate tomorrow. But 1 minute is just so easy. Sit with yourself 1 minute. Forget about the methods, practices. It doesn't really do anything. It only confuses you more. Just sit there 1 minute, become aware that you want to meditate. Whatever this meditation is, that doesn't matter. But allow yourself to be there for 1 minute every single day. And I promise you, this awareness will grow on you. Yeah. Let me see what's happening. Mary, are you associated with any lineage? No, I'm not. You must give, but give to yourself first. And as Doc said, it's like a rebirth. We are all in this with no clue, but sensed a sort of beautiful opportunity for ourselves and the world around us. Yeah, that's what we have. That's why we have Doc with us. It's not so black and white. Your time and wisdom is worth some sort of contribution. Money is an expression, love and appreciation. Yeah, but I'm a gambler, you know. Money is not similar in the hand of gamblers. In the hand of gamblers, money is some sort of useless thing. For so many people, money is very valuable. For gamblers, money is not valuable at all. It's the win that they want. And unfortunately, I'm a gambler. I want the win. I don't want the money. Josh, you gamble every day, my friend. Don't do it. Gambling is bad. Doctor, how's it going?
Great. Just listening to your voice, and being with that organic unity.
Organic unity. What do you mean by gambler? Literally and figuratively, I think I gambled all my life to earn my money. I had many businesses, I had many services, but I never charged anything for my services. And on the side, I was just gambling. So I earned my living through gambling, and I earned my career through giving. I would say it was a good run. It did not worth to be an addict, you know, because at the end, gambling is an addiction, and you want to one day not gamble. If you ask a gambler that what's their wish in life, they would definitely tell you that they wish that they don't gamble, and then they keep on gambling. You ask them, well, why don't you stop? They most probably tell you they haven't made it yet, you know, that one big win that the win that you would say, okay, I don't gamble anymore, this is enough. You always make enough to live by. At the same time, perhaps go gamble and gamble, maintain this whole gambling attitude, addiction and attitude. Until very recently, I decided, okay, that's it. I don't want to earn my money through gambling. And when I say gambling, the last gambling, it was cryptocurrency for me. So I got into cryptocurrency in 2016, I would say. So I made lots of money and millions of dollars. And I really blew all that away in casinos uh, and just lived a very comfortable life sometimes. And then all of a sudden, I decided not to do cryptocurrency anymore because it became mainstream, and whatever it becomes mainstream is icky for me, you know. And now I'm a beggar. I think it's much easier to be a beggar. But I would say I live the rich life, live the poor life. I definitely choose the rich. But at the moment, I'm poor, so I have no other choice. I gotta accept being poor money wise. You mean leverage trading? Mm, yeah, but I never really leverage traded. I went into literal casinos. I sat with millionaires and I saw they are the same. They're poor. They just want to make it big. Hmm. Crypto casinos. No, just casinos, man. Emmanuel, what you doing? You seem like you're into crypto, so you're very curious. How did you blow all that money? Doctor is just sitting there, allowing me to enjoy my time, trying to understand your story. Yeah, but my story is not relevant. That's what we are talking about. Manuel, your story is relevant. You gotta meditate, not me. Ask Doc if he knows Bronson the movie. Doc, do you know Bronson?
The movie is about me, but I am not him.
There you go, Manuel. You're happy? He crushed you. I'm joking with you, man. Manuel is a good man. He emails me. He asks me, are you ready for a spontaneous talks? We've been talking. He has good thoughts. I want to live in the forest. When you look up the cover, you will see duck. Yeah, he said in his autobiography of his life. Marge, why don't you live in the forest then?
All right, brother alien. That's it for me. It's bedtime for Dr. Rob. Thank you so much for having me, brother. And talk to you again soon. Maybe we have a private call sometime when we both are free.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely, man. I have your email. I'll stay in contact. I don't know how busy you are, but I will email you. You
Okay.
take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone that joined this live session. Man, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Or I can stay on. Wait a second. Okay. Yeah, nice. Chris, you guys helping me through this evening with bliss. Thank you. Weeks before I would have drinking my third beer. No, man. Put it away. I have to find a house in the forest. Yes, you have. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thank you too. Mammy, you're so funny. What? Is that sarcastic, Emmanuel? Should I be worried about? You don't say these things too often. Hmm? You're always like, oh, Mammy. Okay, nice. We're gonna talk, man. We're gonna talk soon, and I want to go live with you if you are available. You said it, so we can do it together. Then we can talk about some deeper stuff as you love and enjoy. Me too, Marge. Thank you. I love your vibration too. You wondered about the. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. All my problems. Thank you. See you soon.